Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie, and I was fortunate to have the opportunity to spend my summer here in Richmond interning with the Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities. Tracing its roots back to 1935, when a grassroots group of community members came together in Lynchburg to begin promoting religious tolerance, VCIC has long been an influential presence in the struggle to bring people together, bridge the lines that too often divide us, and in the process, build stronger, more inclusive communities. Today, VCIC continues its commitment to building inclusive community by offering a variety of educational programs to businesses, schools, and community organizations throughout Virginia. Such programs work with the aim of helping Virginians gain the motivation and skills necessary to create working and learning communities in which all people have the opportunity to thrive. I originally became interested in working with VCIC about a year ago when I heard about the work they do with middle and high school students. With a budding interest in the connections between social justice and education, I was moved by the opportunity VCIC provides for young people to come together with their peers in order to think about the prevalence of prejudice in their schools and to begin to take action to address such issues. Volunteering with several day programs, I was inspired not only by the students' ability to speak openly and perceptively about the challenges facing their schools, but also by their commitment to creating change, to the genuine belief that they could do something meaningful to improve the daily experiences of their peers. Needless to say, when I was looking for an organization to spend my summer with, I knew that VCIC would provide me the opportunity to work with an extremely dedicated group of individuals who are invested in empowering people to push for change. Building upon my interests in social justice and education, I spent my internship researching a variety of topics, from multicultural math curricula to identity development in young people. This research allows VCIC to better reach the communities and schools that they serve. I also spent time preparing for what would be the culmination of my internship, the Harold M. Marsh Senior Connections Institute, a week-long program that brings together teams of students from high schools all over Virginia. The Connections Institute provides student leaders the opportunity to engage with one another while exploring a variety of topics related to race, class, gender, sexual orientation, ability status, religion, and body image. Students have the opportunity to explore the significance of these issues as they relate directly to their own experiences, schools, communities, and to larger society. Connections is a practice in bringing young people together to explore, discover, and learn about themselves and those they care about, as well as the challenges that every one of us face as we navigate a culture and a world that does not value each of us equally. Most importantly, Connections focuses on spreading a message of hope through action toward meaningful change in our communities. Indeed, Connections was an ideal setting for exploring what exactly it means to enter into community as we attempt to create a socially just world. Throughout the week, we openly contemplated the notion of community, even as we attempted to create one. Facing the unique circumstance of being complete strangers coming together for just a few days, we struggled with what community meant and our roles in varying communities. One night, after a particularly emotional workshop, I shared with the Connections community a powerful quote that struck me from one of the texts I read as a part of the academic piece of my fellowship. In Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire states that, quote, "The naming of the world, which is an act of creation and recreation, is not possible if it is not infused with love," end quote. While there is much that could be said about this particular passage, I'd like to focus, for now, on the element that I think encompasses all of the others, that should always serve as both the means and ends of social justice work, that allows us to enter into community. I'd like to focus on love. What would it mean to create loving communities? If love became more than simply a feeling shared between individual persons, if we began to think of love as a social ethic, as a way of approaching our world, embedded in every action and interaction, if love held this meaning, what would be the possibilities? I'd like to think that at Connections, we were beginning to do the work of establishing loving community. And while we were by no means perfect, perhaps that isn't the point. We came together, each of us with pure intentions, seeking simply to engage in dialogue and to learn. aiming to leave Connections having created a greater knowledge and cultivated a greater capacity for understanding, trust, compassion, and empathy. While there were certainly stumbles along the way, we learned to value our differences and to come together both because and in spite of them. It is in the presence of such loving community that we can learn to affirm each other as we are, even as we all seek to better ourselves. As we better ourselves, we better our community, making it ever more loving. As I think about my experience at Connections and the wonderful students and staff who shared it with me, I wonder what it would be like to exist within such a community all the time. Upon leaving camp, it was impossible to escape a feeling of loss, of knowing that we were all about to go back to our separate lives, to enter back into the real world, where sustaining loving community would be a far greater challenge. But what if there were no sense of loss? What would a world full of inclusive, loving communities look like? For a start, it would mean the end of social systems of hierarchy, the end of domination, the end of oppression. In essence, it would mean liberation for all people. A lofty goal, but perhaps the most powerful lesson that I'll take away from my internship with VCIC and from my work with those students is that if we wish to create the world we want to live in, the best place to start is anywhere. We can begin living by an ethic of love and taking liberating action right now, wherever we are. Indeed, what better way to create a socially just world than to love? Thank you.